Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report Spotlight. Today we have a returning guest, Bix Weir. Bix is the creator and owner of Road to Rooter. You can see him on his YouTube channel, Road to Rooter, and I am very happy to have him back on the X22 Report Spotlight. Bix, welcome back to the Spotlight.
Hey, thank you, Dave. It's good to be here.
Hey, thanks for being back. And I wanted to start off with good guys and bad guys. I know that's what you call them. And before we get into, what is happening here, for those people who are, just first hearing of this, I just want you to explain, who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, and give us a little update on where we stand right now with both sides.
Well, it depends who you ask who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. But from my Road to Rooter theory, and this comes from studying documents out of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, there's a group of people behind the scenes, which I call the good guys, that are fighting the deep state, the people who have basically controlled our lives, meaning the banksters, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all those bad people that we hear about. And there's a group within the United States that is fighting them from within the Federal Reserve Bank, from within the U.S. Treasury, from within parts of Congress. But the deep state is so entrenched in our current system that it is difficult to get them out. But as we can see, there's a lot of things happening that have been going on behind the scenes for a long time. The takedown of the bankers and the monetary system and the criminality within that. It really started with Bernie Madoff. That really came to light as people said, oh, my God, maybe there is a way to take down the deep state, the criminals that control everything we do, because all we have to do is expose these people to the light of day. And now we have all the pedophilia coming out in L.A. That'll soon move to Washington, D.C. These are gigantic things that everybody knew who did a little bit of studying that it was going on, that we were under the control of a deep state / banking cabal. But nobody knew, it wasn't talked about in the media. No one was ever getting arrested. And now we're seeing that. We're seeing the takedown of the child trafficking rings. Trump has arrested already over 4,000 people involved with child trafficking. I mean, where were the past presidents? If Trump gets in office and the first thing he does is put Jeff Sessions in charge is the Attorney General, the very first question he was asked by Dianne Feinstein when he was getting approved was, what are you going to do about the largest problem in the United States right now, which is child trafficking? And everybody kind of shook their head and said, what? What are you talking about? This hasn't been in the news at all. And all of a sudden, 4,000 people get arrested. So it was definitely being covered up, and everything's kind of breaking down now. And a lot of people are saying, hey, maybe there is a battle behind the scenes. Maybe there are good guys that are taking down these deep state criminals. And I think through my work with the Road to Rooter and all the documents that came out of the Fed Boston, it was clear on the banking side that there was a battle going on. But now we're seeing it in a more official role with actually arrests. And supposedly there's all these closed indictments that are going to come down of people within Washington, D.C. So I'm real excited about seeing some truth come out.
Now, Trump, a lot of people are saying that, he hasn't done what he said he was going to do. He was going to drain the swamp, and everyone expected all this stuff to happen right away. Do you see him still trying to remove certain individuals from government, still cracking down on things? Do you still see him pushing the agenda to get rid of the deep state, or some people call him the cabal? Is he still doing that?
Absolutely. But remember, he's not the power behind this. Trump was placed as the president of the United States to be a bull in a china shop. They tried to get Ron Paul in there, and Ron just got too old. If he was in his 40s, back when he was a strong debater and had, it was tough as nails, he could have been placed as president and done what Trump's doing. Trump is allowing the good guys within the government to take down the bad guys within the government. And yes, he's the front man for that. He's absolutely still doing it. And no, if Trump came in and pulled the plug on the whole game, we would have had a destruction of the monetary system, a destruction of our infrastructure, a destruction of confidence in government. we really, really would have been in a situation that could easily deteriorate into a Mad Max world. So there's a transition going on from the old system to the new system. And the new system is going to be built around trust and not the banking cabal. And that trust comes in the form of the cryptocurrencies. And that is part of what's going on, is they're giving the cryptocurrency economy time to really catch hold, so that there is somewhere to go besides turning to the banksters and bailing out the banksters again. That we do have right now a transition that's going on from the old system into a new system. And it's happening extremely quickly. And it's not just in the price appreciation of the cryptos. It's in these businesses that are being built that are going to inject trust and honesty into a pretty much 100% corrupt system. So, yeah, it's a difficult thing. How long will this transition last? I think at least through 2018, that Trump will, little things will happen. Big things probably as well. But the full takedown of the old guys and the starting of something new, I don't think will happen until the end of 2018, maybe even into 2019. But we will see more and more people being exposed for the criminals that they are. And that's a good thing for the United States, and it's a good thing for the rest of the world as we make this transition.
I want to get into the transition a little bit later and the economy and cryptocurrencies, but I wanted to ask you about the things that Trump the things that he's been saying, where, Obama spied on him, how the Fusion GPS, that was completely made up. I mean, we're starting to hear, and the corporate media is kind of touching on it, but not so much. But Donna Brazil came out, and she's just, letting loose and, telling a lot of really great information. I know she has a book that she wrote, but I mean, all of a sudden, people are now pointing fingers at certain individuals like the Clintons, and they're saying a lot. I mean, is this just the start of it?
Absolutely, it's the start. And these people who are coming out know that they might get dragged down with the indictments that are coming and all the bad stuff. And Trump has played his cards extremely well, obviously. He could have come out with all this information right when people accused him of stuff, but he knew you got to get the right people in the right place when this stuff goes down. So that's kind of what he's been doing. And yeah, people are turning on the Clintons because they know, the amount of criminality just in the uranium one, selling a quarter of our uranium to Russia, just in that is treason, and treason with the penalty of death. But there's so much more, especially in the Uma Abedin files, Anthony Weiner's laptop and all that. Uma Abedin was basically the tech administrator for Hillary Clinton's personal, because Hillary was absolutely techophobic. She didn't understand it. She didn't know how to do it, even to the point where Uma Abedin was printing out all of Hillary Clinton's emails and would give it to her. So Uma Abedin was the point person, and she saved all these files on her home laptop, which turned into Anthony, because she's married, or was married, to Anthony Weiner. So all this is in the hands of the New York Police Department, and they're not giving it up to the feds and the FBI and the Justice Department. I think they do have it now, but because it implicates so many of them too, and so and Trump has this information. Trump has been absolutely holding his cards to his hip and saying, yeah, let the leftist CNN, deep state, John McCain, you name it, say what they want. Ultimately, in the end, I have this, ace high straight flush that is going to beat anything they have. And the question is, when does he play his cards? And I think we're starting to see that, which is great, and it will escalate. And when the big names come down, you are going to see what they call a constitutional crisis, because you've got, I hear it's about a third of Congress will be implicated in one way or another to absolutely criminal behavior, not only financial, but really, really bad stuff that we don't even want to talk about, truthfully.
I mean, when this does come down, how is this going to affect Americans? I mean, those people that are sleeping, that really aren't paying attention, that have been believing the corporate media about, everything they report on, when they start hearing names like the Clintons, McCain, and the rest, and whoever else is in Congress, we know, a lot of them are bought off, a lot of them deal, under the table. When all this starts to come out, pedophilia, I mean, there's I mean, we can go down the whole list here. I mean, isn't this going to be really bad for America? Isn't this going to be something where people might riot? I mean, just look, when Trump got elected, look how people reacted. When all this comes out, how do you think?
But that's the thing. You know, who are they going to riot against? You know, the bad guys, the deep state, have done a very good job at kind of making the left and the right enemies, confront each other. Now we've got a situation where we've got the left leaders and the right leaders being exposed to the world as these just mega criminals. So, the people won't be rioting against each other. The police will be on the side of the people as well. I mean, the crimes that were committed are so horrific that I think ultimately it will unite the country. I mean, the problems are going to come in the economic system when the fraudulent banking system falls apart and we see the stock market, close their doors, not go down, by 50%. At some point, they'll just close their doors because it is so criminal. And there's so much fraud and rehypothecation of shares. And, you name it, it's going to come out because once these floodgates open, they're gonna try to release this stuff slowly but surely. But you hit a point where it's like, okay, fine, things are so bad now. Here's everything that happened in the past, and here's how much you were lied to as human beings living around the world. This is just not just the United States. This is all around the world. And what are we going to do? Every country will have to say, what are we going to do to fix this? Luckily, the United States has a constitution. We have a Bill of Rights. We have these founding father documents that we can at least turn to. Yes, we may have to update some of them, but at least it's something. Whereas many other countries don't have anything, and the military will probably take over, and then you've got a dictator and you got other problems. So yes, it is a gigantic issue. Had Trump dumped all this stuff, the day he got elected, the United States would have just imploded and the world would have imploded. So he's trying to foment this transition. So we'll see how well it goes. But clearly, some of the bigger information is starting to leak out. And I do expect before the end of the year, some of the big deep state people will be exposed, which is really, really good for humanity. We have to live in a world that is full of trust, and you're not going to be able to trust people. That's a given. Your leaders, you're not going to be able to trust them. Nobody's going to trust anybody, and trust is the number one key for keeping an unbacked fiat system going. And once that trust is gone, you're in a world of hurt.
Now, you mentioned the transition, and if we look out into the Middle East, we see that, there's huge problems in Syria where the cabal, where they were trying to get into Syria, remove Assad. That's not going as planned. We also see Saudi Arabia right now where they rounded up many individuals, closed bank accounts, and something is definitely happening in this area. What do you think is happening with Saudi Arabia? Because they're the center of the petrodollar.
Exactly. And people need to understand what the petrodollar is. It's not money earned from selling oil. It was a planned event. Henry Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia in the early 1970s, along with Federal Reserve, certain members of the Federal Reserve, to say, okay, here's the situation. We're going to go off a gold standard, but what you're going to do, and we're going to make you rich by doing this, you're going to make sure that OPEC, we're going to create OPEC, and we're going to make sure that oil is only sold in U.S. dollars. And what that did was create an artificial demand for U.S. dollars, because oil is the largest commodity bought and sold in the world. So every country in the world had to hold in reserves U.S. dollars if they wanted to buy oil. And that's what it's all about. And when any country tried to go against that, the U.S. would go in there. If you read John Perkins's book, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman, the U.S. would just go in and either try to subvert the country or take it over or go to war. So that is what is reversing right now with Trump and the good guys. They are shutting down the petrodollar scam, because all that money was also reinvested. The part of the deal was to reinvest that money in the U.S. stock market, in bonds, support the U.S. dollar, and that's why all these Saudi princes got so rich, is all because of the petrodollar. That was a key part of going off the gold standard. with that reversing with China and Russia and different countries saying they're going to trade oil in things other than U.S. dollars, then all of a sudden that artificial demand for U.S. dollars is gone. No one will have to keep U.S. dollars in their coffers as reserves, and it reverses what went on before, and that is a gigantic thing. Do I think it is the be all end all of ending the U.S. dollar, the value of the U.S. dollar? No, the value of the U.S. dollar is determined by derivatives on the derivative markets. It's not about China selling a couple trillion U.S. dollars. The U.S. dollars is traded in the hundreds of trillions, and just listen to Jamie Dimon say every single day $2 to $5 trillion goes out of his money offices in Florida, his secret money vaults in Florida. Those numbers are just staggering, but that's what it took to maintain the faith and trust in the old system. And that's what's coming down with, and it can be seen by the arrests of like Bandar Bush, the Saudi prince that literally was involved in 9/11 and is a Bush family member. They used to call him Bandar Bush because he was hung out with the Bushes for so long. So yeah, it's all coming apart now, and it's a good sign that these Saudi princes are going down. But absolutely expect chaos in the months and years to come.
Since we have the petrodollar coming down, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but we also have China pushing the petro yuan, and we also have the crypto market. Are the central bankers, are they going with China with the petro yuan, or maybe even the petro ruble, because I hear that now? Or are the central bankers, are they trying to steer us away from cryptocurrency into a new fiat currency system?
They would love to, but it's not going to work, because once the U.S. controls all this through the derivatives and through the computer programs run out of the basement of the U.S. Treasury. In the basement of the U.S. Treasury, they have a trading floor, also out of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. They control prices on everything. So if it's not in the U.S. best interest, like a petro-backed yuan, I mean, just the concept of anything backing an unbacked fiat monetary system after the system crashes is ridiculous, because the trust is gone. When the system crashes, the U.S. dollar crashes, there's nothing stopping Steve Mnuchin, who is the U.S. Treasury Secretary now, but he used to be the head of IT for Goldman Sachs, for clicking on his computer and destroying Russia, destroying China. A click of a mouse, and they could dump all kinds of derivatives on the market, destroy any unbacked fiat financial instrument they want. They can destroy China tomorrow. They can destroy Russia. But truthfully, Trump, China, and Russia are teaming up together to take out the deep state. That's what's really going on. So they're going to maintain the current status quo. They're going to keep rigging silver markets and gold markets to maintain the status quo for as long as they need to for this transition, taking out the deep state and starting something new.
Okay, let's get into the transition now. Now, they're going to keep the economy and everything the way it is. They're not going to really mess with it.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would say they're going to keep it under their control. It's not going to collapse. Nothing is freely traded anymore. So they can, if the government officials start getting arrested and things like that, they'll probably bring the stock market down about 30% and then have it hover there, and then start growing and things like that. They can control it all with computers and derivatives. I've proven it a million times. I've proven where the original programs came from. So they can do that. It's very easy. People look at the stock market and the price of gold and the price of silver and think, oh boy, the gold and silver bugs are going to win this battle. No, it is a computer program. All Steve Mnuchin has to do is click a mouse to dump $10 billion worth of gold contracts on the market, or $10 trillion or $10 quadrillion. It truly is unlimited for the amount of electronic derivatives that can be dumped, because it's all a game. And so the U.S. absolutely controls that game. At the end of the day, they can click a mouse and destroy it all. So there's going to be no backing of a yuan. There's going to be no SDR program put in by the bad guys. It is literally, the humanity has figured out a solution, and the solution is not to fix the old problems. The solution is to start a new system parallel with the old system and have the old system die, where the new system, based on trust, not trust in human beings, but trust in mathematics, that 2 + 2 will always equal 4. And that's kind of where we're going. And it's happening. And there's a lot of deniers still out there in the gold and silver community, but they've been saying the same thing for 4 or 5 years, and clearly there is a winner now, and the winner is not holding on to the past. The winner is going to be moving into the future.
Now you're talking about transitioning into cryptocurrency. I mean, in the beginning we had Jamie Dimon out there saying, Bitcoin is in a bubble, it's fraud, whatever. Then we had Christine Lagarde come out and say, yeah, Bitcoin, not so bad. I think this Bitcoin will have a place someplace in the world. And then we had two different messages. And of course, then Jamie Dimon came out and he wouldn't comment anymore on the crypto market, even though, JP Morgan, they were all trading in cryptocurrency, which is
they're a huge player in the ICO market, the startups, blockchain startups. They're a huge player. So all of his, he has over 100 employees solely dedicated on cryptocurrencies. So, I mean, what was it meant to do? It was meant to slow down the rise in Bitcoin. And that'll happen every once in a while. You'll have some big name come out and say, oh yeah, this is a Ponzi scheme, and scares away a couple people. But that's it. We've heard it so many times from so many of the cabal and the bankster regulations. China says, we're going to shut down all markets, all exchanges. Well, all they did was shut down the criminal exchanges that were trading rehypothecated Bitcoin. I mean, you look at the volumes in those exchanges that China shut down, it was huge. China is absolutely on board for a crypto world. And the idea of shutting down their markets, their exchanges, was just to clean up the exchanges. Every country around the world is ready to pass laws to protect Bitcoin, because they know that if they do the opposite, all that infrastructure, all that new energy and technology and money is going to go flowing into the countries that are pro-Bitcoin. And that's why the United States hasn't banned Bitcoin. And they know exactly what's going to happen. And all the laws passed from here on out are going to be absolutely protecting Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies from hackers, from scammers. And there's so many scams going on. It's the wild, wild west right now. So you're going to see these penalties for trying to hack a Bitcoin wallet be implemented to say, you get 50 years to life if you try to hack a Bitcoin wallet. Things like that seem outrageous right now. But when the people are on their knees and they don't have a currency to deal with, and they're looking for something new, they need something they trust. They can trust in math, but they can't trust in the companies and the people behind the scenes that are owning exchanges that rehypothecate Bitcoin and running scams like BitConnect, where it's a complete Ponzi scheme, but there's no regulation, so there's no one to stop it. And there's just so many people are going to get hurt by that type of stuff. The new laws are going to be absolutely brutal to anybody trying to stop the cryptocurrency economy that's being built.
So what are I'm going to play the other side here. What do the central banks do? Because if the crypto market grows and they're not controlling it, this is something they don't like, because they create their currency. I mean, it's not their product.
That's the question. Is the real question is, do you believe that the thousands, tens of thousands of people that work in central banks and government treasuries are all evil, looking to destroy humanity? That's what I usually get from people. I've shown through the Bank of Boston documents that it's the exact opposite. There are people within the central bank, a vast majority of people, who are looking for solutions to get out of the criminal system. They know that there are criminals within the central bank that have controlled things. They would rather destroy the central bank than have these people like Stanley Fischer take over the control of everything. And those are the deep state people. So the deep state has a big problem in that they've been found out, and now they can't pull off all their things they used to pull off no problem, rigging currency, rigging markets and things like that. Now it has to be done under the eye of people within these institutions that are saying, hey, humanity, we need to save humanity from these central bankers, and we can fall on the sword. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston was very clear about that. And that's saying that, we might not survive this. The Federal Reserve Bank might not survive this, but we have to change the way this system is going. So, yeah, I don't think that the majority of people within the Federal Reserve System and the treasuries around the world have the worst desires for humanity. And it goes very much against what my GATA friends said back then when I was writing for GATA. But it's obvious if you read the Road to Ruta documents, that's exactly what they're saying. And because the light is being shown on the Federal Reserve and the criminality of the deep state, it's very hard for any of these dark forces that are at the parts of the top of these institutions to get away with anything anymore. And that's a great thing for humanity. There are people, absolutely, the vast majority of people within the Fed and within the U.S. Treasury want what's best for humanity, not the central bank control to continue.
So if we, and as you're saying, we're transitioning into this new monetary system, and as we make this transition, do we need this central banking system anymore?
No, we don't. It will. Well, what the Fed, the documents that I analyzed said most likely what will happen is the Fed will get absorbed into the U.S. Treasury and we'll go back to a constitutional form of money. And that was the idea, using gold and silver all the way up until, but the problem was the transition out of the old system to a gold and silver standard, because backing won't work. Once the derivative bubble goes off, no one's going to trust anybody. And so backing won't work unless it is redeemable. And if it's redeemable, because nobody trusts our government, everybody's going to run in and redeem their gold. So that once the trust is gone, it's over. And that's where the cryptos came in 2009. They'd been, the Federal Reserve Bank and Alan Greenspan and the CIA and the NSA had been working on this for decades, long before the Satoshi white paper came out. And that's been shown in a couple of papers that the blockchain type technology, cryptocurrencies have been in the works for a very long time. And you notice the Satoshi white paper came out exactly after the crashing in 2008, the attempted takedown of the bad guys in 2008. And then everything kind of went right to cryptocurrencies. It wasn't really thought that it would work until about 2015. And in 2015 is when the cryptocurrencies and the tokens related to companies really kicked in. And now it is clear for anybody in the industry, which is millions of people now, that this transition is happening, and there's no way to stop it. The cat is out of the bag, and humanity has offered a solution to one of the biggest problems in the world, and that is the problem of unbacked fiat money controlling our lives. So absolutely is a revolution in money.
So when we go through this transition, those people who are not woken up to cryptocurrency, I mean, they heard Bitcoin on the news, but many people don't know how to get into it. They don't know where to go for it. They don't know how to, trade their dollars for Bitcoin or anything like that. What happens to those people as we go through this transition? I mean, is it going to be a transition where the government says, hey, trade in your dollars, get, whatever the coin is, and we're going to trade in that now?
Possibly. I mean, the U.S. government has the ability to determine what their people use as money. And that is one of the possible solutions. And I do think there will be a lot of, they call them sovereign cryptocurrencies. So the U.S. will use the blockchain to come out with a sovereign U.S. dollar, a sovereign cryptocurrency U.S. dollar. And those will be allocated to the people of their country. That's the big question, is allocation, because they had all this gold stored up, and the big problem was allocation. Alan Greenspan had thought the best way to do it was to do it according to Social Security balances, so that when you reallocate money after the system crashes, the derivative bubble goes off and destroys every bank, then you reallocate money according to Social Security balances, because people who had bought in the longest would get the most, and it was kind of fair. But you can do the same thing with cryptocurrencies. And I don't think the U.S. will actually have a sovereign cryptocurrency. I think that within the United States Federal Reserve and the NSA, CIA people, I think they control the 1 million Bitcoin that Satoshi Nakamoto has. So if that is the wallet for the United States to use as currency after the old system crashes, we'll be pretty well off. So yeah, but that's just a theory. I don't have any proof of that. I do have proof that Alan Greenspan was the world's greatest computer programmer in the 1960s, and nobody knew about it, and was rigging markets ever since. But and he comes out every day and says, the Bitcoin's bad. No, it's fiat money and all that. But his job was to lie. Ever since he got put in charge of the Council of Economic Advisors back in the early '70s, his job was to lie about what was really going on. So he's very old now and dying off, but absolutely, he was instrumental in rigging the markets with computers and derivatives all throughout his life. So obviously, the Federal Reserve is interested in computers and computer money, and he was knee deep in it, I think, back in the '80s and '90s.
So then what happens to the financial institutions like JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and the banking systems, Bank of America, Citibank, and all the others? I mean, do we need any of these institutions?
No. We haven't needed them for a long time. That debt system, it can't survive a derivative collapse. And that's what Alan Greenspan did in the late '90s, is he took away all regulations on derivatives so that the banks would blow each other up. He gave them enough rope to hang themselves, and now we have $100 quadrillion worth of derivatives that control our markets. So no, JP Morgan will go down. All the banking systems will go down, and the unbacked fiat money will go down. Question is, how long will it take? And that's where the manipulation comes in. How long will they manipulate? Yeah, I don't know. Truthfully, they're trying to get the crypto economy in place. 2018 is a huge year for all these crypto ICOs that had real products that are coming to market. It's going to be really exciting. And then, if you listen to Cliff High, it's going to be quite a few years of the old system dying and the new system growing. So, place your bet now. You haven't missed out on Bitcoin, that's for sure, and the cryptocurrencies. If you're gonna get involved at some point in the next 10 years, you're gonna have a necessity of owning some unbacked cryptocurrencies. And these are backed by mathematics. And I know it's a hard leap for the gold and silver bugs. But the system really does work. You can't lie, you can't cheat, you can't steal on it. I mean, you can on not on the blockchain and the protocol for the good cryptocurrencies, but there are companies that do lie, cheat, and steal on the side all the time. But it's absolutely a godsend for humanity, because otherwise we would have had to crash the system, and so many people would have died. We're talking millions, if not billions, would have died because of everything would freeze up with no banks open, no credit, no nothing. And all the trust would be gone. That's the key. So no one could restart, hey, JP Morgan, here's another bailout. No, the people wouldn't stand for that. So we move on as a race and as a society, and on the sovereign level, on the state level, on the local level, we're going to have to move forward. And it's going to be ugly, but it is here. It is here. As Trump said just a couple of weeks ago, when he had this meeting with all these generals in the White House, he said, this is the calm before the storm. And now the storm has started. So you guys better get ready as fast as you can.
Now, I just wanted to ask you, when we're going back to the banks and stuff, for those people who have their assets in the banks, their pensions, their savings, it's all in digital cash. It's all digital dollars right now. Is this going to be like a one-to-one type of transition? Are they going to lose out?
They're going to lose out. They're going to lose out. They made bad investment choices.
So they're going to.
You just got to look at the credit of who you're giving your money to. Look at the credit of JP Morgan, 50 trillion in derivatives, Fidelity, all these pension funds that are massively underfunded. Everybody, it is a situation where people are placing their faith in the government, and your government is corrupt, and the old government is being taken out. And because it is so bad, the system is absolutely destroyed. The question of how money will be reallocated is the biggest question. If you read Alan Greenspan's book, that's right on the back cover. It says this is the biggest question for humanity, is how to reallocate money after an old system fails. And people will be screaming and yelling, and there is no deciders. I keep telling people, no one can make that call. If you put your money in the old system and you trusted that the FDIC insurance would be there if your bank collapsed, you made a mistake. The FDIC can't insure the trillions and trillions and quadrillions of dollars that they are on the hook for. And that is the big problem, is that there can be no deciders when this happens. And Yeah, it's dog eat dog. So that's why Alan Greenspan said, well, the best way to do it in that scenario would be to allocate money according to Social Security balances. Now that's not a bad thing because Social Security right now you think, oh, you can't live off Social Security, but if all money is gone, so those Social Security balances are pretty valuable if you think about it, because all of a sudden money will be worth something the next money that comes out, and yeah, it is a problem for everybody who bought into the system. But again, you got to be a smart investor. Know what you're investing in, and don't expect the nanny state to come help you when the nanny state is literally getting destroyed because it's fraudulent.
Now, what about those people that have, traded their dollars in and have silver, have gold, but they have physical? What do you think about those people? Are they going to be able to trade that in?
Trade in to who? That's one of the questions. I don't think we're going to go onto a gold and silver standard. I think those days are gone. I think silver will be massively needed in this new high-tech world where we're living in, we're approaching, and it's been suppressed in price for 150 years. So we're going to have to find out a new fair market value of silver, but it won't be based in unbacked fiat money. It'll be based in whatever the new currency is. And gold, I love the gold bugs, but time and things have changed. There will be years that banks and gold bugs value gold as the base money and in the intrinsic value that they place on it. No, gold does not have intrinsic value. Nothing has intrinsic value. Gold has value, historical value. Yeah, it was used as money in the past before electronic blips turned into money. But the future is not. We're not going to be flying around in spaceships handing out gold ounces to people. Say, here's your money. It's all going to be electronic, and it's all got to be trustworthy. That's why the blockchain technology and inventions are so important. And there's so much gold out there. It's ridiculous. But, that's the battle I've had with GATA all along. When I left GATA, I didn't really leave them. I love what they're doing. They're fighting for the freely traded metals, but unfortunately, time and circumstances have changed that story so that now the U.S. doesn't need gold anymore. We've got something else. We've got a cryptocurrency, and some people might turn to gold. If they can't figure out how to use a cryptocurrency, they don't have any cell phones in some country, they might go to gold. But in a high-tech world, gold is kind of obsolete. Silver will be in high demand, though. So hang on to your silver, I would assume. And obviously the cryptocurrencies are changing the world. So you're going to have to, at some point, you're going to get it. And probably you'll be allocated an amount of Bitcoin through the U.S. government if they truly have these 1 million Bitcoin Satoshi coins in these wallets. Everybody knows where those wallets are because it's all on the blockchain. It's just that who has the private key to open that? I think it's the U.S. government, and they'll do some kind of allocation of cryptocurrencies to their citizens. And every other country, you got to fend for yourself and figure out what's the best thing for your country. But clearly, the worst thing for the country is for the old system to continue functioning.
And how much longer do you think the old system's going to continue on? To what?
I'd say it's crashing now. It's in the process of crashing ever since 2008, and it's a slow crash, and the transition is moving more and more towards cryptocurrencies. Huge industries being built. You go to these crypto conferences, and there's young people and old people and banks and angel investors, and it is a monster. I would say it's getting to that point where it's going to be bigger than the early 1990s internet. Remember the internet, the World Wide Web came out in 1990, and 10 years later you had a bubble. We're in like 1991 right now with the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies. Not even close to any kind of bubble. We've got huge companies that are going to displace the old companies, and it's really exciting. So if you haven't made the shift yet, if you haven't done the homework to figure out how to open a wallet, what is a wallet, you're going to do it at some point. By hook or by crook, you're going to end up, participating in the new system, because the old system, when it does crash fully, it'll be obvious to humanity that the cryptocurrencies are a better system. and it won't be obvious that you're going to have to lug around gold that nobody has but central banks. That's the other thing. It's all the rich people have the gold, and the vast 7 billion people don't have any. So unless they're going to give everybody equally share their gold and figure out how to do that, gold will not be used as a form of money in the future.
Bix, thank you very much for being on the X22 Report Spotlight. Once again, how can people see your work?
Go to roadtoruta.com or the Road to Ruta YouTube channel, where I post something almost every day these days.
Fantastic. Bix, once again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.